Adam. Oh, he's on the stage already. Look at that. They're learning.
Thanks. All right. So, over the summer, I got to spend 2 months in India working with a nonprofit design group called Design Impact. But I'm not going to tell you what I did. I want to tell you a little bit what I learned about time-oriented versus event-oriented cultures. So, but to do that, I feel like I need to qualify those statements. So what I mean by time-oriented is a culture in which let's say you're up by 6:30, you're at the gym by 6:45, you have lunch at noon with the coworkers, and at about 7:27 on the dot, you're given a 5-minute long presentation with exactly 20 slides in exactly 15 seconds. That's a little structure. That's what I mean by time-oriented. So, what I mean by event-oriented culture is a little bit looser structure. So it's more of like, think of like an agrarian type culture, where you get up when the light comes up and you eat at midday. It could be anywhere between 11 and 2. And you stop work when there's no more light out. So it's a little less structured. Time-oriented, event-oriented. So, I come from, for a frame of reference, I come from this time-oriented culture, United States, where work begins at 8, and I absolutely despise traffic because it interferes with the time, that like we structure every single hour, and I hate that. And for a little background on my hatred for traffic, forgive me, I'm an engineer, so we need a graph. The longer I sit in traffic, the more pissed off I get at every bun around me. And the little blips are me trying to calm myself down, and my fiancée Jessica trying to calm me down, and eventually I just crash, not the car. Yeah, so I went to work. I went to go make an impact. I went to go steep myself in the culture. I went to go eat their food. Yeah, and just work with the people there. And the thing that I found was that meetings don't necessarily happen at 10 a.m. on the dot. And they may not even happen until the next day. And that was really frustrating to me. Because I come from this time-oriented culture where everything is exactly on time. And I couldn't deal with that effectively at first, really well. So, and I became very frustrated with that. And if I didn't have time to sit and wait on a meeting for 10 minutes, I sure as hell didn't have time to sit in traffic, which I love, on business trips to the city. But I don't know if anybody's ever been to an Indian city. This is what traffic looks like all the time. And I hated this because it interfered with that time that I needed to do my stuff, and things just didn't move as fast as I wanted. So, I come from this culture with very little room for margin to a culture on the margin. And this lag, I just couldn't deal with it very well at first. It just didn't sit well with me. But then I started getting little glimpses into what I should really be there for. And I learned a lot from the NGO or nonprofit workers and the designers that I worked with, that a lot of development work is about building relationships. So I mentioned those business trips to the city, which traffic was awesome. We would often go to machine shops, and I would take my engineering drawings that I spent hours on, and take them, and they just didn't compute. Like it meant nothing. Some cultural barrier there. So this Indian guy named Ilvar Su, who I worked with, helped lead projects, suggested I instead take easy to understand 3D images. Just like quick, throw it together, a couple hours, 3D image, take it to them. But the funny thing about this was, Ilvar Su would sit with a machinist and talk about a little feature on that 3D image that I could and did describe in about 2 drawings. He would spend 30 minutes talking to this guy. And I was just like, come on. So, but what I discovered was, what I saw about this was how relational versus informational the culture was there. And in those relationships that I started to understand and try to build into myself, I was able to do the work that I went there to do. And I was able to love the people there and try to help them, which is really the whole intent of me going there in the first place. So I guess what I learned from going to an event-oriented, impoverished culture was, when you have to sit in hours of traffic, sit in hours of traffic. Don't bitch. And if their beer is horrible, and it was, drink the beer with them. And if meetings go late, whatever, And I had a lot of inner struggle with India because I want to make an impact. But I learned that it's not necessarily all about what you get done. It's about your dedication. And I hated traffic, but I had to sit in hours of it. And I use the silly metaphor of traffic. And after India, my opinion on traffic overall didn't change, but I think about it more, So what is your traffic? What is your proverbial traffic? And what are you going to do to change your perspective on that? I went to make a difference, but I learned that I needed to build into relationships. And in that, I was able to love and get my stuff done and be more content with my work and be productive in ways I didn't even know possible. It just didn't happen in my time-oriented, traffic-free schedule. But now that I'm back in this culture, I guess I have to be done.